Today, I'm going to be talking about the new liquid in Terraria, where to find it, how to get it, and what it does. If you're still trying to avoid 1.4.4 spoilers, now's probably the time to click the Save for Later button. Greetings friends, Khaios here. Can I just give you all a huge thank you? In the last few days, we've jumped over 12,000 subscribers, and at the time of recording this, we're only 9,000 away from 300,000. So thank you all very much for that. I really do appreciate you all subscribing and helping this channel grow. So, this is the new liquid. It's pretty interesting stuff. It's called the Shimmer, and it's located within a biome called the Aether. Just to be upfront, this is a huge topic. I'm not going to be able to cover it all in today's video, so there will be more specific follow-ups. I'm going to be going over the basics of it today, so if I don't cover something that you would like me to, I very well may in the next few days. Before we take a look at it, there's something that I want to talk about. Over the past few days, I've seen a lot of misinformation about this new liquid floating around that I wanted to clear up really fast. A lot of people have been claiming that this is a post-Moonlord liquid. That statement is at least partially true, but not entirely. The Shimmer is placed during world generation, meaning that it and the Aether exist as soon as you launch your 1.4.4 world from the very start. You can even interact with its special properties from the very beginning, including its unique form of crafting. I'll go more into that a little bit later in the video. The misconception, however, is born from two things. One of the crafting options is only available after defeating the Moonlord, and this liquid can't be obtained in the traditional sense. It does have a bottomless shimmer bucket, but that is only craftable using luminite bars, which of course require defeating the Moonlord. So while you can't create more shimmer until post-Moonlord, you can still in fact use it right away. Rather than describe it as a post-Moonlord liquid, I would prefer to say that it's a progression-based liquid. Despite the fact that you can't collect it in the normal sense, you can still relocate it if you're stubborn enough, and that I'll go more into later on as well. To find the Aether biome, and by nature the Shimmer, you need to head to the outer third of the world. The Aether always generates on the same side of the world as the jungle, so if you see the snow biome or the dungeon, you need to turn around and go the other way. It's pretty deep underground, and you'll know it when you see it because it is entirely made out of stone, and it has an interesting visual effect. You'll see. I have found it on a few worlds now just to get a sense of where it generates, and my suggestion for finding it is to go to your jungle side's ocean, then leave the ocean biome by about 100 blocks or so and dig down. Each time that I've done this, I either ended up in the Aether itself, or I ended up in a cave that eventually led to the biome. For now, let's take our first look at the biome. This wasn't recorded during a playthrough, so I was in journey mode. I just wanted to record myself finding the liquid for the first time, so I was recording while I looked for it. Definitely a new biome. I've never seen a background like this I love the stars, but I've never seen them go through blocks. These are solid blocks, right? So it goes through solid blocks, it changes the color of them, makes them sparkle, and there's some new fairies, failings. I wonder if they work kind of like fairies. Oh, they don't like you. They definitely run away. Interesting. Gym trees. Okay, so it doesn't have its own foliage, right? Or is that just a normal, yeah, it's just a normal gym tree. I was expecting something like acid, and this just screams Senex to me. The reason I was expecting acid is the image that Redigit... Oh, hold on, I'm curious. So even a big mother slime turns into a small shimmer slime. Interesting. Anyway, Redigit created an image for possible Terraria 2 stuff, and there looked like there's a big pool of acid. So I thought that this might be acid. It appears not. Even pinkies turn into it. This is actually really cool for testing. I'm going to turn off God mode. Here we go. Let's see how much this hurts. None at... What? Wait, what? I literally can't move right. What was that? I was trying to attack. I was trying to break out, but I literally couldn't move in there. What the heck was that? What the heck was that? Yeah, I can't move in here. This is weird. This is so weird. What the heck? Oh, wait. So it's not a specific length. It's pushing me until I'm out of a solid block. Can I rot of Discord? No, I can't rot of Discord while using this either. That's nuts. Oh my god. This thing is going to be so interesting for adventure maps, puzzles. Oh my god, this thing is cool. Hold on. Welcome to the Aether, and yes, that is indeed one of the more interesting properties of the Shimmer. When you're submerged in it, you sink through the ground until you are no longer inside of a block. This is called phasing, and it's really an interesting mechanic. My brain is rolling with ideas for mini games, puzzles, traps, and more just for this mechanic alone. Phasing also happens when you try to fish in the Shimmer. The connection of the fishing line with the Shimmer causes you to phase once again, sinking through the floor, which means there are actually no fish in this liquid, but it has some very unique and interesting applications for puzzles that I really look forward to experimenting with. You might assume that this would also be the case with hooks, however, it isn't. Instead, hooks simply break when coming into contact with the Shimmer, which is pretty interesting as it's the only thing in the game that, to my knowledge, can completely stop a hook from grappling to something. Which kind of makes me wish that there was an anti-hook block in the game now, because that could be very useful. You can prevent phasing from happening by wearing a special accessory that's called the Chromatic Cloak. This will allow you to dive into the Shimmer without getting pushed through the ground. I also want to note that you can become immune to phasing when in the underworld, so you can't really end up stuck at the very bottom of the world, though you could potentially end up stuck inside of some blocks that are right on the border of hell. Shouldn't be too much of an issue though. Also, a fun note about how you interact with Shimmer: when you are wearing the Chromatic Cloak to make yourself immune to the phasing effect, Shimmer doesn't cause drowning. Apparently, we can breathe this stuff right in just fine. It does slow your movement down a lot, but you could still swim in it with items such as flippers equipped. You can also build into it like you can with water and honey, so if you manage to get stuck inside, you can build your way out, and you won't be at risk of dying from a lack of oxygen while you do it. But that isn't all that the Shimmer does. I mentioned at the start of the video that it can be used for crafting, but this isn't done in the traditional sense by using your crafting menu. Rather, the Shimmer uses a form of transmutation to change an item into a new item. If you've ever played The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, think of the Waterfall of Wishing, where you throw something into the water and the fairy turns it into something new for you. For example, if you throw an enchanted sundial into the Shimmer, after a moment it will transform into a new item called the Moondial. Just because you're probably curious, the Moondial is the nighttime version of the sundial, which I had teased about when I was talking about the sundial in a video the other day. The Moondial will fast forward time until the start of night whenever you use it, and it has its own cooldown separate from the sundial, meaning that you can use a sundial and a moondial within the same week. Plus, it also gets reset upon a blood moon or a solar eclipse, which could be pretty handy. That's not the focus for today's video, however, but that may give you an idea as to why this is such a difficult video for me to make, and why I've decided to break it up into a bunch of smaller and short videos. There are so many different transmutations and crafting options with this, and there's no way I can go over all of them in today's video, though I do want to provide a few examples. From what I can tell through my own experimentation, there seem to be 5 different types of transmutations with the Shimmer. I'm going to call them New Item, Old Item, Alternating, Downgrading, and Dismantling. Throwing the sundial into the Shimmer to get a moondial is an example of a new item transmutation, as you put an old item in and you get a new item out. This is also how you get the Chromatic Cloak to make yourself immune to phasing when you throw a star cloak into the pool. I'm not going to go into the full list of new items in this video, I'm going to save that for later, but I will give you one more huge example. At the start of the video, I mentioned that one transmutation was not going to be available until after you defeat the Moon Lord. This one you all are going to love. If you throw your precious Rod of Discord into the Shimmer, nothing happens. Because I forgot to kill the Moon Lord. 1 second. Okay. If you throw your precious Rod of Discord into the Shimmer, it becomes the Rod of Harmony. This functions exactly like the Rod of Discord does, without the negative side effect, meaning that you could teleport to any location on your screen that isn't inside of a solid block at the click of a button, and you can do this as often as you want without turning your insides out. So that's an example of the new item transmutation, but what do I mean by old item transmutation? Well, some older items that you throw into the Shimmer do turn into a different item, but they aren't new to 1.4.4. They're things that already exist in the game from previous updates. Again, I don't have the time to go over everything today. I'm not even convinced that I figured out the whole list yet anyway, but my favorite example so far has been with the Magma Stone. If you all have been watching my live streams that were leading into the 1.4.4 update, you'll know that I had a huge frustration with trying to finally get a lava charm to make my Terra Spark boots. And indeed, in the time that it took me to get one, I had already obtained a few magma stones. Well, throwing a magma stone into the Shimmer will turn it into a lava charm. My mind was blown with that one, as it makes the material much easier to farm. But that is an example of an old transmutation. Older object to older object. The next form of transmutation I'm going to refer to as alternating. These items will turn into a different item, which can then turn back to the original item when submerged into the Shimmer again. For example, if you throw marble into the Shimmer, it turns into granite. Dunking granite in yields marble. Some of them aren't straight back and forth either, but rather a loop or a circle that cycles through a few options, then back to the start. The weather radio can turn into the Fisherman's Guide, which turns into the sextant, which becomes the weather radio, allowing you to easily get the last accessory that you need if you have duplicates of another. Very handy. The fourth type of Shimmer transmutation is downgrading. I wasn't quite sure what to call this one, to be honest, but it feels like downgrading to an extent. Some items, when tossed into the Shimmer, will return a lower tier item. Stone turns into dirt, or diamond turns into rubies. Hard mode crates can turn into pre-hard mode crates. You get the idea. I feel like this one will be less useful than others in many ways. However, if you're sitting on an abundance of high tier ore and you need low tier ore for building, you can throw the ore into the Shimmer until you get the type that you need. You have a ton of gold, but you want to build with iron? Well, that's where this one can help. Don't go too far with it though, as copper will just turn into stone, leaving you without any ore at all. The final type of item transmutation that I'm aware of is what I'm calling dismantling, as that's essentially what it does. If you throw an item in that was crafted, the Shimmer will break it down and return the items that were used to craft it. Kind of. This seems to work for a great many items, but not all of them. For example, I could throw a cell phone in and get back a PDA and a magic mirror, but if I toss a shell phone in, nothing happens. Also, the cell phone example shows another interesting quirk about Shimmer dismantling. Items that you can craft with different material types will not necessarily return the type of material that you used to make it. For example, you can create a cell phone with a PDA and a magic mirror, or you can use a PDA and an ice mirror instead. When you throw a cell phone into the Shimmer, it will always return a PDA and a magic mirror, never an ice mirror, even if you crafted that cell phone with an ice mirror. Same thing goes with dismantling the Terra Spark boots. Eventually, you'll get down to the Spectre boots. These will always turn into Hermes boots, despite the fact that you can make Spectre boots using Hermes, Flurry, Sailfish, or even Dune Rider boots. So keep that in mind if you plan on using this feature of the Shimmer. I suppose you could use it to turn your Dune Rider boots into Hermes boots for whatever reason or something like that, but Shimmer dismantling would be very handy if you accidentally craft too many type of one building material and you want your materials back. But Shimmer Transmutation doesn't just apply to items. Oh no, dear viewer. I highly recommend dunking your town NPCs into the Shimmer. Unlike us players who just get phased out when we're trying to swim in the thick pink soup, town NPCs have a different outcome entirely. When you drop an NPC into some Shimmer, their appearance will change. They're still the same town NPCs, just with a new look. I'm not going to show all of them to you in this video because I don't want to spoil the fun of seeing it for yourself, but I love this. It kind of makes me wish that town NPCs actually got dressed up in different outfits for different events like Halloween or Christmas. But Khaios, I can hear you yelling. That means I have to wait until post-Moonlord to change the way that my town NPCs look? No, you don't. You can easily get the town NPCs down to the Shimmer by finding yourself a king and a queen statue. Activating the king statue with wiring will cause male town NPCs to instantly teleport to the statue. A queen statue does the same thing with female town NPCs. You can also place these statues straight into a pool of Shimmer, so this means you can have an NPC dressing room available at the flick of a switch. If you resubmerge a town NPC into the Shimmer, they will revert back to their original appearance, which kind of opens the door to more and more appearance possibilities for these NPCs. I'm curious to see if Relogic will add any in the future. That's everything on the transmutation side of Shimmer, but that's not everything in this video because I mentioned earlier that you can't obtain this liquid in the traditional sense. Using an empty bucket on the Shimmer will not give you a bucket of it. The only way to place Shimmer is by using a bottomless Shimmer bucket. This is crafted with an endless water bucket and illuminate bars at an ancient manipulator. Now you can see why that requires a Moonlord defeat. Alternatively, you could just throw a bottomless water bucket straight into the Shimmer to get a bottomless Shimmer bucket. However, this also only works post Moonlord. You can remove Shimmer using either a super absorbent sponge or an ultra absorbent sponge, which, if you're not aware of that item yet, check back later this afternoon for a short video detailing what it is and how you can get it. But if you really want to move your Shimmer before defeating the Moonlord, and if you're very stubborn, you can actually relocate it. Because Shimmer, being a liquid, is fully functional with the inlet and outlet pumps. I'm not saying it would be easy or worth it, but you can drain the ether of its Shimmer using pumps and wirings and relocate it to an entirely different location. The final basic function that I want to talk about regarding the Shimmer today is liquid to liquid interaction. We all know that lava and water connecting creates obsidian. Honey and water make honey block. Honey and lava make crispy honey block. So what about Shimmer? Well, when any liquid comes into contact with Shimmer, we get a new block called Ethereum block. This is a new building item and it has a few crafting recipes of its own, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow's video. As you may have noticed, I haven't really talked much about the Aether today. Instead, I focused entirely on the Shimmer. You may also be expecting me to build a custom version of the Aether. I will, but not today. In the next video, I want to take a look at the Aether biome itself, including the new Ethereum block and some additional items that come from Shimmer transmutations, as well as building a custom version of the Aether. So be sure to tune in tomorrow morning for that video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite use for the Shimmer is, and if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a like and a comment. A huge thank you to my biggest supporters for the month: Matt Dragon, Nate Wiley, Hypic3, and Duke Samron. And be sure to check out my channel artist, MythicalWater, linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Be back soon with a new video. Until then, happy building.